I don't think domestic abuse should be fought as a domestic abuse issue. I think domestic abuse should be fought as a civil rights issue and a human rights issue. Because when you're sustaining domestic abuse, your rights are being violated. I was lactated against my will for a long time. My human rights were violated. When I wanted to go to the police, my husband tried to take my life and then proceeded to tell the police that I attacked him and that I was the abusive one. My human rights were violated. When I tried to get a restraining order against my spouse, they told me that domestic abuse does not impact children and that the restraining order would not be against them and we would have to work through a third party. When I attended the first hearing for my injunction, my advocate from the sheriff's department wasn't even there. Neither was the legal aid provided for women impacted by domestic abuse. I found out later on that my ex hired Bay Area Legal Services, or one of the nonprofits, for his case. So when I went to mark the box for domestic abuse, they refused to let me mark that box because my husband was already using the system against me. What you're going to find is when you're leaving domestic abuse, your spouse is going to violate your civil rights and your human rights on a regular basis, and the police and lawyers and your friends and family are all going to watch your rights being violated, and nobody is going to do anything about it. And that's where we need to step up and start fighting this like Martin Luther King would, as a civil rights issue, as a human rights issue. I have a right to not fear my husband taking my life. He has access to his guns, and now the state of Florida doesn't even require a concealed carry. He was going to kill me in 2020, and the state gave him his guns back. My husband was going to murder me and tell people that I was crazy and attacked him, and that's how he was going to get away with it. But our son walked in the room and saved my life. And the coward that my husband is lied to the police to avoid a jail sentence and then used the system against me. My human rights have been violated. I've been lactated against my will, conditioned for sodomy. My husband has pulled multiple firearms against me. He has raped me. My human rights have been violated. The state allowed him to do that. My human rights have been violated. You have human rights. I have human rights. We cannot continue to allow the police and the state to allow our abusers to violate our civil rights because they don't want to get involved or they think it's funny. I don't know. But domestic abuse is a violation of your human rights and your civil rights. And we all have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and freedom. We all have human rights.